one thing I also advise each and everybody of you, continue to read, continue to get educated, because that's our biggest weapon right here.
Know our human
Okay?
rights.
Know your human rights. You know, that's what's protected me.
These books.
You know, and I use that more than this, and it's worked in my favor.
And filming.
And filming. Film everything. Document everything. Okay? Thank you, everybody. Again.
All right. It's almost time to adjourn.
Can I share my social medias with them?
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot. Sorry, guys.
So, if you guys want to see my social media work, it's wetdogg on TikTok. Instagram, it's wetdogg as well. You see everything from me kicking out ICE out of communities, following them. Also encounters with Anaheim PD, Garden Grove PD, where they're violating people's rights as well. So you guys can watch all that. It's all just, it's, you know, really raw material that I got. So just check out, you know, be aware of everything that goes on in our community. Yeah, check me out.
How did you become a wet dog?
What did you say?
So
W-E-T what?
WETDOGG. So it's funny, when I started this in June, when all this was starting, I would get a lot of comments, like they would call me like in Spanish, like a wetbag, or, you know, and someone who's actually Hispanic tried to insult me in Spanish, calling me eres un perro mojado. Trying to insult me like you're a fucking wetbag, like pretty much, but in a dog, like you're a dog and a wetbag. So I said, well, I'll keep the name. I am a wet dog. So, but this dog does bite, so that's about it. That's all I can
Think about wet dogs to get everybody else wet too.
But yeah, I don't take offense to that. It actually grew on me, and I actually like the name. So, and people know who I am. So thank you guys. Check us out, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I guess it's just about time to adjourn. It's 9 o'clock. It was a very full meeting. What do you have to say, Mike?
Ruben, if we could just give 60 seconds here to Dr. Moreno.
Good.
He's scandalized former
You want to?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
Wet dog, I love it. That's what they say about the term Chicano. Everybody was called Chicano, it was a bad word. People said, well, then we're going to take it. So I appreciate you on that. Buenas tardes, buenas noches, Democrats. Real Democrats. Jose Moreno lived down the street. Gracias, Maestra, as always, for opening up the space, the community, and sat on city council for some years. Got a chance to have a front row seat to the corruption that was funded and designed with the architects of the Imagineers at Public Affairs of Disney Corporation, implemented by the Chamber of Commerce through Tadamet, and acted out well by the actors at the dice, Harry Sadu, Trevor O'Neill, Steve Bessel. All of that's in the investigation. So just quickly, I wanted to apologize first because Vern had asked me earlier, and I just was somewhat dismissive because when you just think Anaheim politics, is well, what can you say? And we thought having a majority Democrat council might actually be helpful through districts, and it just seems to be business as usual. But just a couple of things to highlight about this thing in Vanderpool. It's striking to many of us that he was named in the investigation, both the FBI investigation and the $1 million report that was commissioned by the city council as one of our outgoing acts that this council took over, $1.5 million. He was implicated, if not associated with a lot of the culture of corruption. Certainly there were some department heads who named him as being a political chameleon, as one who catered to the special interests of Anaheim. Certainly I gave testimony in those investigations of how he told me to turn a blind eye to a corrupt developer who was looking to build in West Anaheim. And he said, this is after the corruption scandal broke, he said, why can't you just turn a blind eye as a council member and let this agenda item go through so that this developer can get the zoning and the resources to build in West Anaheim. So when this scandal broke, I think for many of us, it's it seems to us, to many of us observers and those who participated in seeing what happened on the inside, that Jim Vanderpool to have been there another 3 years when this council was seated, the mayor and this current council, after being named in these reports, and I know I did, and I know other folks who have been on the council had said to the new council mayor in our coffee meetings with them on the transition, I'd be happy to share how Jim Vanderpool has corrupted or sustained the corruption of our city with evidence, with testimony. None of them, I could say to you, have ever called me to say, after I told them, I'm happy to talk to you about it, have ever called. As a reminder as well, they also put a gag order on the investigators to ever talk about the report.
Right.
So in community, for 2 years, we were begging them to come out to talk to us about the report, but they were not allowed to because the mayor and the city council voted to gag the investigators, presumably to keep it
We paid for
to
it.
keep it objective, something the people of Anaheim paid for. The city council and the mayor also were begged by so many of us to at least have a public workshop so that they could present publicly the report to the people of Anaheim that we paid for. They also refused to do that. Some of us begged the mayor to do it with her agendizing power. She refused to do it. She said she didn't want a circus that we paid for. So now everything goes quiet and silent, and while many of us observed and many people just started turning their attention to other things, they actually extended the contract of Jim Vanderpool after the corruption scandal that he was named in. And so now that an LA Times report comes out showing how he continues in the same practices by keeping the council in the dark and the mayor about his role and his participation with this self-proclaimed cabal, now the mayor's upset. Only because the media covered it. Right? And even then, if we believe the reports, it was a 6-1 vote in closed session to keep him. And council members, including one from this district, which is a very important district in the history of Anaheim, says he was a transformative city manager. And I would just ask if they ever choose to come out to community forums, which they don't. They do not have community town hall meetings. They do not come to neighborhood meetings. They're going to campaign soon, so presumably they will. But at least during their chance, they have not. I would love to hear from her or anyone on that dais, what was the transformational thing that this city manager did in our city? Can anyone name any signature thing that has occurred? In fact, previous city council, we actually passed a public arts ordinance in our city. So to encourage muralism, to encourage public art, and to support it through an ordinance. And this district has seen a couple of murals get erased. That community funded itself with community artists to put on the sides of businesses that the owner said you could put the mural in my business. And they were erased, even though we have a public arts ordinance. And the city council from this district said, Jim saved some murals. Jim also erased some murals.
You heard that.
Right?
That comment.
So what I want to share with you in terms of just Oko Anaheim, is that he abruptly resigned for some reason. For some reason. Even though he had a 6-1 vote of confidence, he still decided to resign. That means something else is coming. And it's going to come, and I think I just want to make sure that we're paying attention to it. Second, it didn't escape many of us that the new police chief is now the $500,000 police chief, the highest paid chief in the history of Anaheim. I don't know what his record was in Glendale, but it must be quite extraordinary to pay him $500,000 to come be the chief of our police department. They are also looking to increase the budget for the police department to get more police officers, something that a lot of us have tried to balance out. 10 cents of every dollar in our city budget, or maybe 12 cents now, goes to community services, and about 40% to the police. 44% actually. In the city of Irvine, 20% of the budget goes to community services, and about 30 to 33% goes to police. And it's the safest city in Orange County. Unless, of course, they don't like Mexicans here. They don't think we need to be policed. So what I would ask you to look at in terms of this resignation is, why did he resign? He said publicly that he was planning to retire anyways. But he also had said in the Voice of OC when they hired the police chief, he was the one who approves and recommends the $500,000 contract for the new chief. And when the Voice of OC asked him, he's making more than you, and he reports to you. And he said, oh, I'm taking care of that in the next budget. Right? So he recommends the salary that is much higher than his. So that means he was about to get himself paid even more. And yet he was planning to retire. Right? So why does it matter whether he retires or resigns? If he retires, he's gone. It's over. If he resigns, he now gets a negotiated agreement with the city council, which means $300,000, 6 months' pay of his salary that he makes now, and perhaps medical benefits for life. So he's going to get a really nice parachute by resigning. And again, I would hope that our council mayor would say, wait, if you were going to retire anyways, which would have been in 5 months or so, 6 months, why is he resigning abruptly? So he could double dip into the taxpayers of California and Anaheim. And during this time, we're still struggling with our budget, we're being told. So pay attention to that as the council members or mayor come out to campaign. Make sure we ask them these questions. I'm just hoping that maybe one of these council members will at some point begin to ask the questions many of you keep asking at public comments. Like not one repeats the questions. And with this question with ICE, we begged them for 5 months to say something. And Carlos Leon, I'll be on video, shared with me, because our young people, if you remember, organized a march. High school students organized a march a year ago, February. And it was raining. A year ago march. So they marched from right here to City Hall. A lot of us joined them. They led it. They begged the council to come join them. They would not respond. And the day of, Carlos Leon shows up, which was great. And he shared with some of us that he had been trying to get the city council to publicly agendize a discussion about ICE. Publicly discuss, where does our police fit in that? To talk about a position, formal policy resolution, opposing mass deportation policies, and preparing our city for what was coming. He said, Jim Vanderpool stopped that conversation. He said, the police chief stopped that conversation, the previous police chief. He said, other council members agreed to stopping that conversation. And the kids marched. And as a result of that march, all of a sudden they agendized discussing immigration.
Sounds like potential Yorba Linda.
They forced our kids to march in the rain before willing to publicly agendize a full substantive discussion about immigration. Right? And they organized actually out of the bookstore. Maestra Garcia helped the students with a space to organize. So again, just a reminder that some things never change, regardless of party, regardless of skin tone, regardless of where they live. They don't want to come out, but we have to just keep the spotlight on them. But keep your eye on the Jim Vanderpool severance package, and when that happens, I think that that's something that we should really raise our voices about. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have.
Our last chief, Rick, we went to Brooker's Park to hear a judge saying, you can't choose who you want, you usually want to hear what you would like, and then we think it was going to be long term, and he turns around and do you think that he got a severance package higher at the end of his term, like he can retire, like it was set up because it was supposed to be a long time. It didn't last very long. It just seems fishy, just like this guy coming in. Did you kind of see anything in that kind of curriculum of the way they run and how they get paid? And it's like, okay, you're going to leave and they get a lot of money. Like it kind of seemed fishy to some of us that, they get paid a certain amount, but when they leave at a certain time, they're going to get their benefit. It just seemed like, why did he leave? Why did he go when he was supposed to be a long term? What they were telling us at our community meetings.
Yeah, I think
it last that long.
He did not. I don't know specifically about that, but what I do know is that at City Hall and on the dais, this is why campaign finance reform is so important. And 4 of the current council members, including the mayor, supported the campaign finance measure we put forward in 2022, which said you cannot vote on any donor who gave to a PAC that supported your campaign. The city attorney said it was legal. And the moment they got sat in those positions, our mayor, the lawyer, federal lawyer, said it's illegal. Even though 6 months prior to that, she came to city council as a public comment on the campaign saying, I support that.
Right.
All of a sudden it was illegal. But what I do know that's happening is that the police union, the rank and file union, Anaheim Police Association, the Anaheim Police Management Association, are in a fight about power, influence. Management is unionized, and then of course the APA has extremely inordinate influence. They give a lot of money, and they partner with Disney Corporation. They partner with the old chamber. They partner with a lot of interests to create the cabal. So my understanding is that there was some conflict about the chief and his leadership. I'm not sure if it was with the Management Association or with the APA, but it is worth looking at again. When there's a resignation versus a retirement, that means a severance package was negotiated. So I don't know. I think he retired outright, but again, it's always worth looking at when those things are playing out. And our council is heavily influenced by the Anaheim Police Association. Heavily influenced. That's why they won't talk about whether they're participating or not.
And I think that's what Ruben kind
Yes.
of made that comment against about they were giving Vanderpool a goodbye. Why would they do that? But they were doing it, And then the mural thing came up with Maza, and then she got mad at him and yelled because saying that he helped. Yeah, I caught that, and I said, "Wow."
Yeah.
For her to say, and for her to say that ICE police don't work with ICE, and yet we have somebody here that sees that. And you could just tell her mind is just strictly pro police all the way.
So I'm hoping that we can, in community, Los Amigos is what I work with, if many of you may know, we have been inviting the police chief to come to talk to us about what is the role. That's been something we've been able to do for a long time in Anaheim, is to get a police chief to come out and talk in community, whether they were good or not. They would always come out. That chief wouldn't come out. And what Carlos shared was he wasn't allowed to come out. He wasn't allowed. Armendariz, the previous chief. Now, I'm not going to say whether he was going to be supportive, what he was going to do, but what Carlos Leon shared is that he was not allowed to come out.
Control.
That inside City Hall, there was an agreement to just everybody just close the windows, no one's home. On this question.
City manager, his boss wouldn't allow him.
Or the city council made it clear, we're not engaging this.
Because I'll be honest, I asked for a meeting with the chief, like one-on-one.
Yeah.
If he's real about community, because he was saying he was all about community.
Right.
So I told him, well, let's meet up.
We should all be a week from tonight is the police review board meeting, and the new chief is going to be there.
So a question that I'm going to invite the chief out to our meetings in Los Amigos. Hopefully he'll accept the invitation. But a key question for our police department, and it is, by the way, department policy. We did that in community 15 years ago. By policy, they cannot collaborate with immigration officials. By policy, what they do. So this may be. My hope is this is what's happening. Doesn't maybe make it better, but that they did say that they do go out to provide backup when there's a warrant, and they show the police department that it could be a dangerous situation in serving the warrant to someone they're pursuing, but not necessarily backup to go get the landscaper, right? But backup for something that may become dangerous. That's where APD and the policy said they can do that as backup, not to actually do that. The question I think that we need to ask our police departments locally, now that we know that there's a DHS memo that says an administrative warrant is enough to knock down. We're telling all our community, know your rights. Don't answer the door. Stay quiet. You have rights. You don't have to answer the door. Well, this DHS memo that many of you are aware of now says you can knock down the door. You don't have to necessarily respect that right. So because it's a well-understood, well-litigated right, if they knock down the door without a warrant or pull you out of a car without a warrant, all of our lawyers say they cannot pull you out of a car without a warrant. That's private property. It's a private domain like a house. The question for me, for our chief and our police department is, can our people call 911 and have the police department go and arrest them because they are intruding in someone's home? They're intruders. without a warrant. Will PD arrest ICE officers who violate the law by opening and banging down a door and taking someone without a warrant?
I've asked them the same question. many
And they
times,
said-
and they said, no, we don't want to get involved because there's been cases where it happened during the Obama administration where some cops did arrest some ICE agents and they ended up going to jail.
So again, the thing is, if they serve without a warrant, so on some university campuses, police departments are actually saying to professors that if an ICE official comes into your classrooms without a warrant, you should not obstruct. You should ask them, do you have permission from the central administration to come in? That's what they're supposed to report to the central office. But if they just go into your classroom without a warrant, call university police. University police will show up, and if they don't have a warrant, we will arrest them. Or at minimum, escort them off campus. And if they refuse to leave campus, we will arrest them. This is university police departments are saying this. So that's what I was thinking about our city police departments, right? Because what's the point of training people in their rights that you can stay silent, not open your door, and they still knock your door down? And what's the point? Why are community going to trust us to keep doing workshops about know your rights? If those rights are violated. So my hope is that we can press our local police chief and all of our police chiefs about, will you, if we call 911, will you go and arrest or at least kick out those officers off the premises? Will you take action? There's videos about New York, that playing out in New York. I don't know if they're legit, but it's happening in other municipalities. That the police department and in Minnesota, I think, started playing out, that they started really enforcing and pushing ICE away when they didn't have warrants. So, thank you again, Vern, for the time and the space to already go so far over. Let's keep our eyes.
Thank you, Dr.